Ever get this feeling?
Like there's going to be more to reality than we can see.
Like,
Yeah.
what if all those ancient mystical teachings weren't so far off from, like,
Right.
what cutting-edge science is discovering right now?
Yeah.
And that's exactly the wild ride we're taking today.
As we dive deep into...
The Tale of Physics.
Okay,
Of
great.
Fritjof Capra.
I'm excited.
I'm so excited to talk about this one.
Yeah, this is a good one.
So
These are fun.
Set the stage for us.
Okay.
What makes this book so fascinating?
Yeah, so The Tao of Physics by Fritjof Capra, really what makes this book so captivating is that it explores these kind of uncanny parallels between modern physics, so things like quantum mechanics, relativity, and the wisdom found in Eastern traditions, like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Taoism.
So we're talking about hardcore physics.
Bumping up against ideas like...
We're all connected, and reality is an illusion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, it's really exciting stuff.
But
where do we even begin?
Well, I think a good place to start is with some of the core concepts that Capra tackles in the book. So let's start with Maya, for instance.
Okay.
Maya.
Okay.
So imagine looking at a movie screen.
You see images, characters.
Whole story unfolding.
Okay.
But it's all just light projected onto a surface.
Right. I see where you're going with this.
So Maya, in a way, suggests that our everyday perception of reality as like these separate, independent things is kind of like that movie screen.
We get caught up in the illusion of separateness.
Whoa. So you're saying...
Like the sense of being a separate self.
Might be part of the illusion.
Yeah.
That's deep.
It's a mind-bending idea, for sure.
And this is something that's echoed in a lot of different mystical traditions.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting to see how Capra connects it with modern physics as well.
Yeah. So we've got Maya.
What else is there?
Well, let's talk about karma.
Okay.
Which a lot of people associate with.
You know, some kind of cosmic justice system.
Like you do something bad, you get punished. But in Eastern thought, it's a little more nuanced than that.
It's more about cause and effect happening on a universal scale.
So every action...
Creates a ripple.
Precisely. Every ripple, no matter how...
Interacts with every other ripple.
It's this intricate web of interconnectedness.
Okay.
And you know what? Physics kind of reveals something similar as well.
The conservation of energy and momentum.
And tells us that you can't affect one part of a system without impacting the whole shebang.
Right, okay.
I'm starting to see how
these ideas connect.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. We've got Maya, we've got karma.
What about this concept of emptiness?
Okay, yeah.
Because, I'll be honest...
That sounds a bit intimidating.
I get it.
It's not the cheeriest word.
It's a little daunting.
It can be a little bit daunting.
But think of it this way. Emptiness, or sunyata, as it's sometimes called in Buddhism, isn't about the absence of everything.
It's more about letting go of our need to label and define reality with our limited concepts.
So it's about accepting that
the universe doesn't
fit neatly into our
little
boxes.
Our little boxes, our little categories, our need to...
Or labels.
Yeah, to pin things down
Right.
and say this is this and that is that.
Yes.
Reality is a lot more fluid than that.
Okay.
And physics actually touches on this too.
So, for example, think about the quantum vacuum.
This seemingly empty space.
Turns out, it's teeming with potential energy.
Wow.
Particles popping in and out of existence.
It's anything but empty.
That's pretty wild.
Right.
Okay, so we've got Maya, karma, and emptiness.
What other mind-bending ideas does Capra throw our way?
Well, he also draws this really interesting connection between Niels Bohr's idea of complementarity and the ancient Chinese concept of yin and yang.
Okay, I've heard of yin and yang.
But how does
quantum physics fit into that?
Okay, so complementarity basically suggests that two seemingly opposite descriptions of something can both be true.
Okay.
Classic example is light.
So light can behave as both a wave and a particle.
Depending on how you're measuring it.
Oh, wow.
So it's that old saying.
There are two sides to every coin.
Right.
But taken to a whole other level.
Okay.
It's not that one is right and one is wrong.
Both of those perspectives are needed to fully understand what's going on.
So it's not about finding the one right answer.
It's about
holding both of those truths.
Yeah, it's about expanding our perspective to accommodate seemingly contradictory ideas.
Okay.
And yin and yang express a similar idea.
That seemingly opposing forces like light and dark or creation and destruction are actually interconnected and interdependent.
They're two sides of the same coin, constantly interacting and creating this dynamic balance.
That's actually a really elegant way to think about it.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful concept.
All right, ready for one more?
Head-spinning concept from the world of physics.
Yeah, bring it on.
Okay, let's talk about space-time.
All right.
This is where Einstein's theory of relativity comes in.
Exactly.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, so Einstein's theory of relativity completely revolutionized our understanding of space and time.
Right.
It showed that they're not these separate, static entities
But rather, they're interwoven.
into this four-dimensional fabric
Okay.
that we call space-time.
And this fabric is constantly being warped and curved by matter and energy.
So our experience of time and space
Isn't absolute
exactly
to our position and our movement.
to our position, our movement, are relative to other objects in space.
Mind officially blown.
It's pretty mind-blowing stuff.
It reminds me of
Those optical illusions where you can't tell.
what's up and what's down.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy.
Like our perception is tricking us.
Into seeing space and time as fixed and separate.
Exactly.
Just like those illusions fool our eyes.
But the reality
It's far more fluid and interconnected than we tend to perceive.
wow.
And guess what?
Eastern mystics have been saying this for centuries.
I was going to say.
It sounds awfully familiar.
Right.
It's like they were on to something.
Okay.
So I am definitely starting to see these connections
Between modern physics.
and Eastern mysticism.
Yeah.
It's like Capra is saying that they're both
Trying to describe the same elephant.
from different angles.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, that's a really great way to put it.
Okay.
So they're approaching the same fundamental reality.
But they're coming at it from these vastly different perspectives.
Yeah.
And yet there's this remarkable convergence.
That Capra highlights in the Tao of physics,
Okay.
where these seemingly disparate
Just
fields.
start to speak to each other.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's about to get even more interesting.
As we explore how these seemingly abstract ideas
Yeah.
actually play out.
In our everyday lives.
Exact.
Because it's not just theoretical.
Right.
This has real implications for how we live.
Amazing.
For how we love, how we work, how we interact with technology.
There, you've got me hooked.
Let's dive into how these mind-bending concepts show up in something as personal as, say,
Love.
let's do it. So, are you ready to see how quantum physics can shake up your love life?
Hi, I'm open to anything that can help us navigate the
Right.
ups and downs of love.
But seriously, though,
Yeah.
how does all this mind-bending physics,
Play into something.
as human and emotional as love?
Well, it's interesting because we tend to approach relationships with this idea that
We are two completely separate individuals
okay.
trying to kind of merge our lives together.
Right, like two puzzle pieces trying to fit perfectly.
Exactly.
But what if instead of separate puzzle pieces, we're more like drops of water in the same ocean?
What if that feeling of deep connection we crave actually stems from recognizing our inherent oneness?
Okay.
I can see how that idea could be really powerful in a relationship.
Instead of focusing on our differences,
Right.
we'd be more aware of our shared essence, our interconnectedness.
Exactly.
And it's not just about romantic love either.
Think about the people in your life.
Your friends, your family, even strangers you encounter. Recognizing that fundamental interconnectedness can lead to more compassion, more empathy.
A deeper sense of belonging.
That's beautiful.
It's like seeing everyone as part of your extended family.
Right.
Even if they drive you a little crazy sometimes.
Exactly.
But let's shift gears a bit. How about work?
Okay.
How can quantum physics help us navigate the daily grind?
Well, our work culture often emphasizes control predictability,
Oh, yeah.
striving for these fixed outcomes, right?
5-year plans, performance reviews, the whole shebang.
Right, but the universe as physics is revealing doesn't really work that way.
It's constantly in flux, full of surprises.
With particles popping in and out of
So
existence,
clinging to rigid plans.
is like trying to hold on to water.
Exactly.
What if instead of resisting change, we embraced the flow?
Eastern philosophies like Taoism emphasize aligning ourselves with the natural rhythms of the universe,
Okay.
being adaptable, going with the flow.
That actually takes a lot of pressure off.
Instead of stressing about reaching some predetermined destination,
Right.
maybe it's more about enjoying the journey, being open to new possibilities.
That unfold along the way.
Exactly. And who knows? You might just surprise yourself.
With what you can achieve when you let go of the need for absolute control.
Wow.
Now, ready for a real curveball, how this Tao of physics perspective might apply to technology.
I'm intrigued. I mean, technology feels about as far from Eastern mysticism as you can get.
I hear you, but think about it. Our current relationship with technology is very much rooted in that mechanistic worldview.
that physics is moving away from.
Okay.
We see technology as something separate from ourselves.
Tools to manipulate and control the world around us.
And what's wrong with wanting a little more control over our environment?
Isn't that what technology allows us to do?
Of course, technology has led to some incredible advancements.
But it's also brought about some unintended consequences, wouldn't you say?
Well, yeah, I think about things like social media and how addictive it can be.
And don't even get me started on the environmental impact of all our gadgets. Exactly. What if, instead of seeing technology as something separate from ourselves,
We approached it with that same sense of interconnectedness that we see in nature.
so instead of just asking, what can this gadget do for me?
We'd also be asking, how does this technology impact the world around me? How can it help us live in a more connected and harmonious way?
Now you're getting it.
Imagine if we designed technology with that kind of awareness, with the understanding that we're all part of this delicate web of life.
It could completely revolutionize how we approach everything from social media to renewable energy.
Okay, you've definitely given me a lot to ponder. But I have to ask if the Tao of physics is all about challenging our assumptions.
And pushing us beyond our usual ways of thinking.
Yeah.
Where does that leave us?
What are the big existential questions we should be grappling with?
Now you're asking the really fun questions.
The Tao of physics isn't just about drawing cool parallels between science and mysticism.
It's about facing the ultimate mysteries of existence head-on.
Okay.
And Capra leaves us with some pretty profound dilemmas to consider.
All right, lay those dilemmas on me. Let's see if all this talk of interconnectedness and quantum weirdness
Can shed some light on the big questions that have puzzled philosophers for centuries.
All right, hit me with those big philosophical dilemmas, the Tao of physics style.
Buckle up. The first one goes straight to the heart of reality itself.
Okay.
Is it fundamentally a collection of separate things like building blocks?
Or is it one big interconnected whole, as Capra suggests?
Right.
And if everything is really connected,
What does it even mean for me?
for you?
For our sense of self?
Yeah, it's like if we're all part of this grand cosmic dance,
Does my individual experience even matter?
does myself just kind of dissolve into this interconnected soup?
That's the question, isn't it?
How do we reconcile that feeling of being an individual
Right.
with free will and choices?
With this deeper understanding of our interconnectedness. It's a real head scratcher.
Okay, so that's dilemma number one. What else you got?
All right, let's dive into the role of the observer.
Okay.
This is where quantum physics gets really spooky.
It suggests that the act of observing something actually influences what you observe.
Wait, so you're saying
Our consciousness impacts reality.
it's a mind-blowing concept?
That we're not just passive observers, but we're active participants in shaping the world around us.
Yeah, that's the implication.
Wow.
And it opens up this whole can of worms about free will versus determinism.
If our observations influence reality, how much control do we really have over our lives?
Right.
Are we shaping our own destinies?
Or are we just along for the ride in some predetermined cosmic play?
Okay, now my head is really spinning.
One last dilemma to try and wrap my brain around.
Okay.
The final question we'll leave you with is this.
If reality is ultimately beyond our limited human concepts and language,
Okay.
can we ever truly understand it?
So we're stuck trying to fit the universe
Into boxes that are just,
too small.
yeah.
That's the dilemma.
Both physicists and mystics talk about how words and concepts can only take us so far.
Maybe truly grasping the vastness of existence requires a different way of knowing.
An experience that transcends language and thought.
Wow.
But then the question becomes,
How do we even begin to access that?
right,
How do we move beyond the limitations of our minds?
to experience this more direct, unmediated reality?
You've definitely given me a lot to ponder.
It seems like the Tao of physics is less about giving us concrete answers
Mm-hmm.
and more about encouraging us to ask these bigger questions.
Exactly. It's about embracing the mystery
Questioning our assumptions.
and expanding our awareness beyond the limits of our ordinary perception.
It's a journey that can take a lifetime, but it's a journey worth taking.
Well said. And to our listeners,
We hope this deep dive into the Tao of physics has sparked your curiosity.
and maybe even inspired you to explore these ideas further on your own.
Remember, the universe is full of mystery and wonder.
And sometimes the most profound discoveries happen when we dare to question everything we thought we knew.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep asking those big questions.